Now that we're generating access and refresh tokens, the final step is implementing an endpoint for refreshing an access token. So let's go to our auth controller. Now, we no longer need this validate method. We added this earlier to understand how to validate tokens. So let's clean up our code by removing this method. Instead, we define a new method that returns a response entity of JWT response, because we're going to return a new access token from this endpoint. We call this refresh and expose it using post mapping at the refresh endpoint. Now, here we should receive the refresh token as an HTTP cookie. So we add a parameter, string refresh token, and annotate it with cookie value. And here we set the value to the name of our cookie. So earlier in our login method, we created a cookie with this name, refresh token. We copy this and put it here. So we received the refresh token. First, we should validate it. So we call JWT service that validate token and pass the refresh token. Now, if this is not valid, then we return a response entity with the status of unauthorized. Basically, we are telling the client this token is invalid, try again. Otherwise, we should extract the user ID from the token. Let's complete the code. So we call JWT service, get the user ID from token. We have the user ID. Then using our repository, we find the user by this ID. Now, if we can't find it, we want to throw an exception because this should never happen. If the client is requesting a new access token, that means the user should exist. But if the user has been deleted magically for some unknown reason, we throw an exception. We get a user object and then generate a new access token. And finally, we return this in the body of the response, just like before. Now let's test this. So we restart the application. Now back to Postman, let's log in. All right, here's a new access token. Let's grab this, copy. Now back to jwt.io. Let's debug this token. So here's the payload. Now let's grab the expiration value and go to epochconverter.com. On this website, we can paste an epoch value and convert it to a human readable date. So this token is going to expire in 4 minutes. That means for the next 4 minutes, I can use this access token to access protected endpoints like the me endpoint. Let's verify this. So back to Postman, let's grab our access token, copy it. Now we send a GET request to the me endpoint and set the authorization header to bearer followed by our access token. Send. Okay, we can access this endpoint, but after 4 minutes, my token should expire. So I'm going to pause the video and come back here in a few minutes. Okay, back to Epoch Converter, you can see that my access token was expired a few seconds ago. So now if we try to hit the me endpoint, we should get an error. Take a look. All right, we got a forbidden error. So that verifies that my access token is expired. But there's a problem. Our API is returning 403, means forbidden, but this is not the right status. Because forbidden means you're authenticated, but don't have permission to access this resource. This is the default status that Spring returns when the client tries to access protected resources. But a better status is 401 or unauthorized because that means you are not authenticated or your credentials are invalid. Now, to change the default behavior of Spring, we go to our security config class. And in this method where we configure our security rules, we call a new method, and that is exception handling. Now, this method, just like the other methods, takes a customizer, which is a Lambda. So here we pass a Lambda function like C goes to C dot. Here we call authentication entry point. As an argument, we pass a new HTTP status entry point and pass HTTP status dot unauthorized. Let me put this on a new line so you can see clearly. So we're calling exception handling and passing a Lambda function. In this function, we call c.authentication entry point, and as an argument, we pass an HTTP status entry point object. We initialize this object with the status of unauthorized. That means if the client tries to access a protected endpoint, by default, Spring should return a 401 error. Let's restart the application. and hit the me endpoint one more time. Now instead of 403, we should get 401. Take a look. Beautiful. The next step is getting a new access token using our refresh token. So back to the tab where we logged in. Let's go to the cookies tab and grab our refresh token. Now, if this doesn't appear here for some reason on your machine, go to the headers tab, look at the header, set cookie, and grab the refresh token. Just keep in mind that what we have here is more than the refresh token because here we have other properties like max age, expires, path, and so on. So grab the string after the equal sign all the way to the semicolon before max age. Let's copy this. Now, once again, let's decode this token and grab the expiration value. Next, we go to epoch converter, paste this value. So this token is valid for the next 7 days. Now we're going to send this to get a new access token. So back to Postman, let's send a post request to localhost/auth/refresh. Now we should include this as an HTTP cookie. So we click cookies, and on this window, we add a new cookie. We set the cookie name, that was refresh token, and replace the value with our refresh token. I made a mistake, so I have to copy our refresh token one more time. Cancel. So back to the first tab, cookies. Here's the refresh token. I'm going to copy this. Now we go to the third tab, click cookies, and set this new cookie, refresh token, and here is our token. Let's save this, close, and hit this endpoint. We got a 401 error because this endpoint is protected by default, so it's expecting an access token in the authorization header. So now we should go back to our security config class and open the refresh endpoint. So let's add a new rule here and allow post requests to auth/refresh. Let's restart the application and hit this endpoint one more time. All right, now we got a 200 response, and this is a new access token. With this new access token, I should be able to access the me endpoint. So we go to the second tab and paste our token here. There you go. This verifies that our new access token is valid for the next 5 minutes. I know there were a lot of steps involved. Quite frankly, security is complicated, but if you implement it once, you'll be done with it and you don't have to worry about it all the time.